And right now, guys, we do have Ty Lieberman is here. How are you, sir?
Hello, can you hear me, Jay Wade?
Yes, I can. Yes, I can. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
I'm gonna bring the other fellas back up here in a minute, but I wanted to
Certainly.
talk to you
Now,
about something.
Jay, I've enjoyed your show all year. At the start of the season, when I joined the Schmoedown, I looked for podcasts that I could relate to, and I've been listening to yours since the beginning, but only as a podcast. So it's weird to see your face, and it's weird to hear you speaking so slowly because I'm normally listening about 1.5 speed. So if you could pick it up a little bit, I would appreciate that.
Yeah, that's not a problem at all. I'll do everything that I can to accommodate you and your wishes here, since you are the guest. So we're glad to have you here. Thank you very much for your time,
Thanks,
and we
Jay.
back again in the future. Now everyone will be like, now when you listen back to this, because I'm sure you will, because you're a faithful listener. When you hit that, let me know how fast that was.
Yeah, but slow it down, sir. Slow it down. You exceeded yourself.
Man, you played a great match the other night against McWeeny, but
Thank you.
I do want to backtrack a little bit. We've got you here, and before I bring the other guys on, I want to ask you about the challenge with the True Grit question against McWeeny and Barbarian. You were managing.
All right. I might need a glass of vintage wine in order to discuss this, but please go ahead. And if you would like to share your thoughts first, because I know you were one of the more vocal defenders of the FinStock Exchange after that, and I really do appreciate that. But if you could remind me your specific take, and then I'll give you the backstory and my personal opinion.
Excellent. My take is that this is what actually happened. Is that the question was asked in which the answer was True Grit. McWeeny said the name of the character, I believe Rooster Cogburn, I believe it was. And then within the next 4 seconds, and I timed this out, I did a video on it. I had the video of it. I timed it out. Within the next 4 seconds, McWeeny realizes he was wrong, thinks about it, then spits out the correct answer. Now, Andrew Guy did the proper thing and made the correct call and did not accept the answer. Then Sam comes in and challenges, which is fine, and that's one of the reasons I love Sam, being a baseball fan. I love his managing style, and I love the use of challenges. However, the problem lies within the overruling of Guy's original call, in which Mark Ellis apparently, I would think, leads off those challenge discussions and decisions, made the call and reversed it. And even if you refer to the rule book, which I did immediately, it says within 1 second. That's why I did the timing of it in the first place. It was 100% a botched call, and it's on my list of things that I think are bullshit this year. I mean, that's my honest take.
Well, it wasn't much different than that in the room. I could say that I was not expecting to be the manager that day. This is my first year watching the Schmoedown, so to say that I'm unfamiliar with the rule book would be quite an understatement. Was really only put in that position. It was an emergency situation where we couldn't have Gucci. Craig, who would be the second manager, was playing in the game. Roka was taping a podcast. It was between me and the guy that plays the guitar. Were the two options to fill in, and Craig felt comfortable with me. And honestly, a lot of the challenges, you have something like I Am a Robot with Frankie Alvarez. Like, I could have caught that. I would have been there to catch that. If Craig had had a couple of bad questions, I could have maybe calmed him down a little bit. Like, I think I could be a good manager. The only problem is it came to a situation where had to do something in the rules. And when Sam made the challenge, I was sitting there watching very intently, like, this is interesting. I wonder how they're going to rule. And then the camera comes to me, like, your screen lights up, and suddenly you realize you're on the air, and it's just like, oh no. You ever have the recurring dream where you're in a play and you didn't learn your lines, or you take a test and you didn't study?
Mine was always that I was in a baseball game in the outfield and I couldn't throw the ball.
You sure? Are you sure that was a dream? That might have just been your softball league. It was sort of everything in slow motion. Like, they're going to ask me what my thoughts on this, and I have no thoughts. I thought, again, Craig being the most knowledgeable player I know in the Schmoedown, I thought I wanted him to argue his own case. I didn't want to spend 15 seconds, spewing nonsense when I thought would have been better qualified. He could have pointed to examples from past matches, or he could have pointed to something specific in the rule book. What I didn't factor in was he was in the zone of playing. He was barely paying attention either. He was not in a position to answer his own, to answer that challenge at the time. So I regret abandoning that situation. But in the moment, I thought it was very logical at the moment to not waste time with my bluster when he could have answered for me. And also, if the rule truly was on my side, then they would come to that conclusion. And when it was ruled in the favor of McWeeny, I spent a good 2 weeks kicking myself for not knowing the rule book, not being in the position to fight for it. I know Barbarian was very, he was not upset at me or the ruling. He was upset that he missed his 5. At no point was he blaming anybody on the team for that call, but I certainly was upset at myself. And what I didn't realize until I started hearing your analysis and other people's analysis was it was a misinterpretation of the rule. The rule clearly was 1 second, and it was about 4 seconds. And I don't even think Drew and Sam believe that it was 1 second. It's only Amaru and his brother who are out there thinking that it was somehow within the manageable amount of time. And I do completely regret, and this is inexperience as a manager, I do regret not fighting for the case. I think if I had just said, oh, clearly he gave an answer, went up, got a cup of coffee, came back, scratched his balls, and then changed his answer, as silly as an argument as that was, I think that would have been the difference, because I think that they were looking for a more subjective argument than the objective application of the rule.
Man, well, my response to that would be, no matter how it came off on your part as far as not getting into the rule is there. They know the rule, and it doesn't matter if you have no argument whatsoever. They should look to the rule book, look to the tape, and say, well, that was much longer than what the rule book says, even though there wasn't a good counter argument. I mean, the arguments and the counter arguments really don't mean anything if you have a rule book, in my opinion. Because
right, and I know that this show in particular focuses on this on the Schmoedown as a sport, in which case you should follow the rule book to the letter of the law. I understand now, having talked to more people, that there is still an entertainment factor to the game, and by being unable to provide any argument, there is some subjectivity in the rule book still. And I don't blame them for making the call that they did, but just based on the rules, it was incorrect. And I don't know if they timed it or they didn't have timing. I mean, the key, the great thing is that this set up a match with me and McWeeny because of the controversy, and everything ended up working out in the end. But at the moment, it was frustrating to know that clocks were not being watched.
Yeah.
But it's a tremendous, as sad as, if you had me on 3 weeks ago, I would have been crying into this bottle of wine, and now I'm laughing over it because of the trajectory that it literally wasn't even sure I'd be in the tournament at that point. But not only did I get into the tournament, but it set up a natural match for me in the tournament. And we had our revenge yesterday at the Scum and Villainy Cantina.
Yes, for sure. And I'm about to bring the fellas back up here. Before I do and we get into that match, I do have one final question. I'm just curious, has there, as far as that challenge call that we've been talking about, has there been any recognition or acknowledgement on behalf of the Schmoedown that they botched that call?
I have not seen any. Also, I have not asked. I don't see any reason to go back and bring that up. It wasn't a title match. It wasn't a tournament match. Yes, it was for faction points. At the end of the day, there are two good players. And if Craig had hit his 5, he gets 29 points, which is the most points you could get without the most points you can get in a singles match, not going into sudden death. And then I could retire as the greatest manager in history. So it just seemed like it was such a small probability that could happen. And this is the most I've talked about this in 6 weeks. So I don't think it was the right call, but I'm no longer hanging my head. And it's certainly not a conversation I feel like I need to have with the Schmoedown. I just know next time, if I'm ever get in a position to manage again, and I really hope I do, I don't want to be 0-1 as a manager the rest of my career. I hope that I have learned that there is a little wiggle room in the rules, and hopefully I can be the one taking advantage of that next time. I do not have hard feelings over the ruling, and I have not discussed them with it. There were no apologies made. I don't think there were any apologies needed, but I certainly feel a way after I had the win yesterday. It seems to be a lot of water under the bridge right now for me and the whole FinStock Exchange.